morning, everybody! Happy Monday, this March 6th, 2023. Thank you all so much for joining Loud Majority Live here. Guys, got a big one coming up for you today. Got a big interview I want to share with everybody today. That's going to be coming up just a little bit later on in the show with the man who broke the internet. The man who broke the internet and broke the narrative, Dr. Robert Malone, is going to be joining the show. One of my interviews from CPAC that you guys are not going to want to miss. I'm going to be running interviews from CPAC that I was able to do throughout the week. And going into next week, some of the biggest names in politics and in culture, from Scott Pressler to Matt Gaetz to Dr. Robert Malone. We talked to Sarah Maccabee, whose husband is still in the DC gulag following January 6th. She has not been able to speak to him in almost 18 months, as he has been in solitary most of that time. Just some awesome people I got to meet down there. I do want to thank, of course, Jeremy Harrell and LFA TV for bringing us along so that I can give you guys the information that you need to make it through your day and be as informed as humanly possible. I do want to get to one story first that I think is incredibly important. We talked about it on the show last week, but there's been an update in what's happening here. But before we get started, make sure you guys hit that Rumble button. That's a thumbs up at the bottom of the page. Hit the subscribe button as well, so you never miss out on any of the content that we are putting out. If you're on Facebook, hit the like button. Share this video everywhere so that everyone can hear from Dr. Robert Malone, the inventor, the founder, the inventor of the mRNA technology that is used in the COVID jab that we were all forced to take. Some of us didn't. Some of us had to. Some of us didn't want to. Some of us stayed unjabbed. But Dr. Robert Malone goes into his view on what all has been going on. I think he has a great take on how we should treat those who start to come around the mountain, who start to figure out that this is not all that it's cracked up to be. But I do want to dive into this story first because there is a school board meeting tonight that I will be at. Everyone who lives in the area should attend if you are a resident of Port Jefferson or have children in the district. But let's dive right into this. It's a terrible story, but it has to be discussed because you're not going to hear about this in depth anywhere else. You're only going to hear this on shows like The Loud Majority. So I do thank everybody for tuning in for that. This from the New York Post from last week. A New York teacher forced a 9-year-old girl to use male pronouns, causing suicidal thoughts, says a lawsuit against the school district. A Long Island teacher forced a 5th grade girl to go by male names and pronouns, confusing the child so much that she had suicidal thoughts, a lawsuit alleges. Deborah Rosenquist, a 5th grade teacher at Terryville Road Elementary School in Port Jefferson, started calling the 9-year-old Leo and using opposite gender pronouns towards the beginning of the 2021-22 school year, according to a lawsuit filed in Suffolk County Court by the child's parents last month. The parents say that they were only clued in about what was happening in January of 2022 when the school principal called them, telling them that their child, referred to in court documents as AV, to protect the child's anonymity, had drawn a picture of a girl writing, "I want to kill myself. I feel sad like a lot," the filings claim. The principal also informed the parents that AV, the child who will remain nameless, had even met with the school psychologist, telling the mental health worker that she was confused about her gender identity, court filings say. Despite Rosenquist, who is 62 years old, having referred to the student for months at this point as Leo, it was only during the January 27th meeting called the parents and asked them for the first time if the name change was okay, the lawsuit claims. This is happening too much. This sort of thing is happening too much in our schools. And the fact that a 9-year-old girl is having suicidal ideologies, suicidal feelings, just shows you the sort of pervasiveness of this radical gender ideology on our children. Back to the article. The parents were supportive as long as AV, who had requested the name change, the filing said, but they had doubts she asked to be called Leo and to identify as a boy in the past. She had been called that by a friend referring to her zodiac sign. So she liked it to be called Leo, not because she was confused about her gender ideology, but because she was born sometime in July and August. But leave it to radical teachers to take any opportunity they can to inject themselves into the lives of our children, of the children of our community. I don't know where this teacher got the balls to do something like this. AV's parents also became concerned when they saw complaints about Rosenquist on Facebook, claiming the teacher had been reported for abuse, but that the school district had done nothing about it because she was tenured, the lawsuit alleges. We say it all the time on this show. Where's the teachers union now? I bet you, I'd be willing to bet, at that school board meeting tonight, which I will be attending, at that school board meeting tonight, the teachers union will not be present. I'd be willing to bet they won't be present. Because they're wrong. And we say it on this show constantly, and I will sing it from the high heavens. I will yell it from the top of the Empire State Building. The teachers unions are not there to protect, educate, or take care of your children. They are there to protect their members. Which is why this tenured professor, Deborah Rosenquist, was able to remain in the school teaching students despite the fact there have been multiple reports of abuse against her, according to the lawsuit. During a deeper dig into social media comments, the parents found that Rosenquist didn't follow the school curriculum and taught her students about transgender people and told kids to try to be gay and to try going by the opposite gender, the lawsuit claims. The educator even made her own LGBTQ plus book called I Am Neither about her 9 and 10-year-old students and assigned the book when Aiden becomes a brother, according to the lawsuit. So she's not teaching your kids math or how to write properly. Remember when you were in 4th and 5th grade? What did you learn how to do? You learned how to write in script. Maybe you started to learn the basis of American history. Maybe you dove into your multiplication tables. No. Not in Deborah Rosenquist class. Not in that classroom. There you're learning about your gender. And she's telling students to try to be gay. First off, what the hell does that even mean? Does she mean be gay socially? Does she mean be gay physically? Because now we're going down a whole different rabbit hole. While the school district while the parents were concerned about the topic, they were worried that it was being taught too young of an age, and were also worried that Rosenquist, quote, had significantly deviated from the school's curriculum, the lawsuit claims. One of the parents met with the principal, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendent on February 3rd, 2022, when the administrators, quote, admitted there was an issue that was not being handled properly, end quote, and said that they hadn't known about the off-curriculum material that Rosenquist had been using. Well, then why wasn't she put on administrative leave right then and there? I'll tell you why. Because the teachers' unions would never have allowed it. While they said they had investigated, quote, it was clear the investigation was superficial at best, the lawsuit claims. The parents are accusing the school of negligence in failing to properly monitor Rosenquist classrooms, train, and supervise the staff. The parents were incredibly concerned about the well-being of their 9-year-old daughter, as one would assume, says the court papers. Quote, they have and will always support the student, but worry that the student was persuaded by Rosenquist to be transgender when she had not expressed any such inclination. So it's bad enough. It is bad enough that these teachers are playing along with this delusion, with this falsehood, when a student feels this sort of way. That's bad enough. But to convince, to coerce, to push a student, a 9-year-old child, in the direction of becoming gay or transgender or anything other than just being 9 years old, there is not a jail deep enough for this piece of crap to be put in. But nothing will happen to her. And if that enrages you, make sure you're at that school board meeting tonight, Monday, March 6th at the Norwood Elementary School, 290 Norwood Avenue, Port Jefferson Station on Long Island. If you are one of our local listeners, I'll say it again. The board meeting starts at 8 o'clock. That is 290 Norwood Avenue, Port Jefferson Station at 8 p.m. Apparently, if there is if it's a very large turnout, it may be moved to the high school. So make sure you guys get there early. Make sure you guys get there early so that I'm sure parking will be, unbelievable. But this is maybe the most egregious case that I've seen of teachers, of people we used to trust with our students, with our children. I mean, look, I say, well, I don't have kids, but if this was happening to my niece or my nephews, so help me God. So help me God. Once again, that is Norwood Elementary School, 290 Norwood Avenue, Port Jefferson Station at 8 p.m. Be there. You guys have seen what happens when we apply the pressure to these school boards, to these educators, or to these indoctrinators, as we'll call it. These indoctrinators like Deborah Rosenquist, who ought to be thrown in jail, never mind lose her job, lose her pension, lose her medical insurance, thrown in jail. And it is time. And look, I want to be very clear. We are not going there to be nuts. We are not going there to incite anything. We are going there to stand with the parents of Port Jefferson, to stand with the parents of this child, to stand with the rest of the parents who have had students and children go through this woman's classroom over the course of years and apparently report abuse and have nothing be done about it. We are not going there to cause a scene. We are not going there to be disruptive. However, we are going there to show these people that we will not go quietly into the night while they poison children's minds and lead them down destructive paths. As I said, it would be bad enough. It would be bad enough if one of these when teachers will go along with this sort of nonsense, instead of teaching their students truth, that no, a man can't be a woman, a boy cannot be a girl. They are distinct and individual parts of the human species. And your woke nonsense, your capitulation to your radical left, to your Marxists, to your people who want to destroy the society that great people before them have built, will not stand. Absolutely will not stand. Once again, that's 290 Norwood Avenue in Port Jefferson Station at 8 p.m. Normally, I don't say what school board meetings I'm going to be at because the radicals that hate watch this show, like Sarah Tully and the rest of the LGBTQAAIP plus failed parent community, will show up and be nonsensical and weird looking. They'll collect students from around Suffolk County, and they'll have them come speak and pretend to be students of this particular school district and talk about how great Deborah Rosenquist is and how much of a hero she is for doing what she was doing. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This woman ought to be thrown in jail. However, because the teachers union has got administrators, principals, department heads, and politicians by the balls. It'll be left up to us. It will be left up to us to stand up to put an end to this nonsense. Once again, that is tonight, Norwood Elementary School, 290 Norwood Avenue in Port Jefferson. The school board meeting starts at 8 p.m. Get there early. Get there early because they may move it to the high school if the crowd is too large. Also, just get there early so you can make sure that you get in. Before we move on to my big story of the day, Dr. Robert Malone. Make sure you guys smash that Rumble button. That's the thumbs up at the bottom of the page. Hit subscribe right under the video on Rumble if you're on Facebook. Hit that like button. Tag your friends so that they know. If you have friends who have children that go to school in Port Jefferson, in Port Jeff Station, this is information they need to know, whether they are of the left, whether they are total normies who don't know anything about politics, or whether they are a member of the right, a member of the informed, a member of the new breed of smart people that are going to be all over this country. I spoke at CPAC with the national head of Moms for Liberty, and I was talking to them about the amazing work being done on Long Island to inspire people to be able to get involved in their local processes. And I was telling her that everything changes in the world when you piss off mothers. I bet you there are people watching this right now, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Rumble, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on Rumble, who probably had kids who had this woman as a teacher. Who has been, and who knows, maybe there was a time that Deborah Rosenquist actually wanted to teach the next generation, actually wanted to do good. But apparently that time has long since gone. Convincing her 9-year-old students to be gay. What is wrong with you? It is bad. As I'll say it once and I'll say it again. It's bad enough. It's bad enough when teachers play into this nonsense. It is so much worse when they convince, persuade, coerce children to engage in any sort of sexual predations. When you were in 4th to 5th grade, was anybody talking about this kind of crap? Was anybody even remotely discussing these sorts of topics? I know I certainly don't remember it. Didn't happen where I went to school. But who knows? I don't know. It's nauseating and it's sickening. Guys, before we get to Dr. Robert Malone, once again, smash that like button. Rumble this video, please. Help get this video up the leaderboards on the Rumble chat. Also, make sure you guys head to rumble.com/LFATV, where you can check out all of our CPAC coverage, everything we had going on down there. We got to interview Don Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, Scott Pressler, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Carrie Lake. Some of the biggest names in conservative politics were there, and we got the exclusive interviews. It was absolutely spectacular. It was awesome. I've been to CPAC before. This one was easily the best one out of any of them. Also, guys, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. That's loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Check out the shop. You guys can use promo code LFA at checkout for 20% off everything on the website. We've got these brand new Loud Majority USA hoodies for all of our national followers over on the LFA channel. That's rumble.com/LFA for 20% off everything on the website. That's the best way to support this show. Guys, this is user-generated content. We're able to bring you guys this sort of information because you support the show. Without you, the show goes away. So if you'd like to support the show, that is the best way to do it. But, guys, Thank you so much for tuning in today. We will be right back with the man who broke the internet, got Joe Rogan booted off YouTube, but more importantly, broke the narrative about what's going on with the experimental nonsense that we were forced to put into our bodies. Guys, we will be right back here on Loud Majority Live. I have got the man who broke the internet. The man who broke the internet. One of the original founders, I would say creators of the mRNA technologies, Mr. Dr. Robert Malone. Man, I am so excited to have you because, as most people, I became very aware of you when you actually got Joe Rogan canceled after that in my favorite episode. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, we were just talking about the wife of a cop who's in jail for January 6th and the lies coming out about that. But the lies coming out about the vaccine technologies and what this COVID, whatever you want to call it, is that's being forced.
I call it a COVID crisis. I refuse to call it a pandemic.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a moral panic to watch the way people have operated with the masks and the lobby. Look, I'm from New York, so I basically wasn't allowed to go anywhere for like a year and a half. But what are some of the biggest misconceptions people are putting out there about this sort of technology, about the COVID vaccines themselves?
Biggest misconceptions has to be at the start that they're safe and effective.
Yes.
They're obviously not either. That it is a platform which is appropriate for ready application and modification for new vaccines. So the thesis is that the FDA has worked together with CDC to position this as if it is a platform that they can just swap the sequence out and it's going to have no impact on the risk. We know that's false because a lot of the toxicity is associated with the spike protein.
Yes.
So really, there should be toxicology done for these products on an individual product by product basis. But what they've tried to do is take the data package that they put together originally, which was basically junk. It was absolutely not up to standards, global standards. It was basically data they scraped off the bench from a variety of different sources, packaged it together, and the FDA was so willing to say yes that they just accepted it and bypassed all the normal testing, which is why we're left with this situation where we've got so many people saying, well, what about shedding? What about this? What about that? How long does it stay in the body? Where does it go? All that stuff should have been known before it was ever deployed, before it was ever moved into clinical trials. That's the rules. That's the way the things have always been, and yet they just completely blew that off, and they're still not going to address all that stuff.
One of the things that I've always said when it came to COVID or when it comes to really anything governmentally, if they had just come out and been like, guys, we're really not sure what's happening here. Give us a little time and we'll figure it out. I think most Americans would have went, okay, yeah, sure. Take a little time. I said in New York, I'm like, I'll give you a month. In a month, I'm going back to my life. Yeah. I'm going back to life again. But now we're starting to see that there are people that are never coming back from the COVID crisis. I have a cousin of mine who last week wearing a mask at dinner, taking the mask off, putting the food in the mouth, putting the mask back on. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, oh, you're gone. You're in stereo.
I'd like to talk about that for a moment, okay? The population in the Western nations has been subjected to the most profound PSYOPs campaign, military-grade, fifth-generation warfare technology designed for combating Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, has been deployed on the civilian populations in the West, in many cases by military units, such as the 77th Brigade in the UK, for which one of the members is actually a member of parliament.
Really?
Okay. So, and the documentation is clear now that we've had the military directly involved in this massive PSYOPs campaign to convince the population to accept an unlicensed product that's neither safe nor effective. And the history in PSYOPs going all the way back. There's a great Aldous Huxley interview that at the After School group. This is the ones that does the little illustrations. You can look it up on the web. This speech in which he points out that historically, and this is speaking from the 40s. Historically, about 20% of the population has been easily susceptible to hypnosis. About 60% of the population is somewhat susceptible. 20% of the population is completely resistant to hypnosis. You can never hypnotize them.
You know what? They're all in this group chat. They are all in the live chat right now.
That's exactly the point.
They're all in the chat right now.
Here's where I'm getting at, okay? The whole Western world has been subjected to a psyops campaign, the likes of which we have never seen. There's never existed in the history of the Western world. You know, we could argue about what happens in the PRC or what used to happen in Soviet Russia. But in terms of what's been deployed here, there's never been anything like it, okay? And something like 80% of the population has been taken in. They've basically been hypnotized. No surprise. They've been subjected to military-grade psyops. This is highly refined technology to get them to believe what the government wanted to believe. Now, I argue that should be illegal.
Yeah.
Okay? Our government doing this makes the whole concept of sovereignty obsolete, completely obsolete, right? The government has technology that they deploy through social media like Twitter and all these other platforms and corporate media that causes you to think and believe and feel exactly what they want you to think and believe and feel if you're in that susceptible group. Here's my point, okay? That group has said some ugly stuff. They have done some ugly stuff. They have talked about, you shouldn't have medical care. You should just be allowed to die. You should be segregated. You should be locked in your homes. All this stuff, right? Your children should have to go to school with masks on or not be able to go to school at all. All this ugly stuff, all full of hate. We've seen it from the Hollywood personalities. We've seen it from Colbert, right? All the media has been done, and 20% of us have not fallen victim to it. Okay. Should we hate them? I argue not. They're the real victims.
Yeah.
The 80% are the real victims.
I say about my cousin I was just talking about, like, I feel for her because she's never going to She's a victim. Again. She's a victim of the psyops that our government has played on us. Yeah.
Okay. And we need these people. If we're to change things so that we make it so that this is clearly illegal and immoral, which it is, by statute, if we want to get the Congress to change the law that's enabled all this, we've got to bring those people along. And there's no way we can bring them along if we have hate in our heart.
Absolutely.
And here's the rub. I want to make it really clear. I am not in any way advocating that people be let off the hook. The likes of Tony Fauci, Rochelle Walensky, Deborah Birx, Tedros, the people that have propagated this on us absolutely need to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
But for your brother, your uncle,
the average
your
citizen,
mother, the poor soul at the grocery store that's still wearing the face nozzle, feel sorry for them and approach them with an open heart and gently, patiently, let's try to bring them over to our side, to the side of real science, not scientism, and get them to
I like that.
Not scientism, not Fauci's version of science, but real science in which people are allowed to debate, right, and to try to arrive at truth. So we have to open our hearts, somehow be Christian, and find a way to bring them to our side. Because we need them.
Absolutely.
And by staying divided, it feeds right in. It is the best possible outcome for our opponents. They want us all divided.
Well, I say it all the time on this show, and for the average listener who watches the show every day, they know I say we are the Big Ten. So if your cousin finally, or your brother-in-law starts to come around, even on any topic, whether it's the COVID stuff or if it's the BLM stuff, they start to notice that something's not right.
Wokeism.
It is time for you to go.
Or transgenderism.
Yes, the transing of the kids is one of the big ones. Because I know I have friends, family members who get like a little whiff of it, and they go, "Wait a minute, You mean he was right all along? This is actually happening? Whether it's the books in the library or if it comes from the government's sort of COVID policy. My favorite is now that the corporate media is starting to say that not only did we know that it came from a lab, obviously, that was pretty obvious from the beginning, but moreover, that I read an article from NBC News that said that an athlete got myocarditis from having COVID, not from the vaccine.
So that can happen. Okay, it can happen, and we have to be. Remember, we're the good guys.
Yeah.
We're the white hats. We're the ones that stay data-based. Okay, the spike protein is a toxin, whether it comes from this laboratory-engineered virus or it comes from the vaccines based on that laboratory-engineered virus. Spike protein is a toxin. It opens your blood-brain barrier. It causes inflammation in your brain. It causes clotting disorders. It causes damage to the heart. The big difference is the level of spike protein in your body circulating if you take the jab is much higher than the level of spike protein circulating in your body if you've been infected. So you can still get the damage from the infection, okay, but you're much more likely to have that damage from the jab because it's producing more of the toxin.
Yes.
Makes sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, it's like, duh.
Yeah, and the fact that they're just coming around now to saying that natural immunity is just as good. Or is
So there's a great story about that. You've heard this character, Scott Gottlieb.
Yes.
Okay, who's on the Pfizer board, right?
Yep.
Okay, who used to be the FDA commissioner. Okay, his boss's boss was a guy named Brett Gior, who's a big Texan, very important Texan academic, who was assistant secretary of health. And early on, Brett Gior had put out a tweet talking about how natural immunity was superior. And Scott Gottlieb, we now have the documentation. We have the receipts from the Twitter files. Scott Gottlieb calls into Twitter on behalf of Pfizer and has them block and shadow ban his former boss's boss, who has tweeted this because it would cause vaccine hesitancy. Okay,
unreal.
You can't make this stuff up. The corruption that's gone on here is deep and profound. I want to say something else about what's going on about all this chitter chatter about the lab origin of the virus. Okay. In this fifth generation warfare battlefield, remember, Twitter is a weapon and it's a battlefield. Okay, we're engaged in fifth generation warfare like we've never seen before. And if you don't understand what that is, you got to get clued in, read about it. There's a great online book that you can get through Kindle on Amazon. Michael Flynn has published a very easy reader, small thing. Learn about fifth generation warfare. If you watch what the government is doing right now is called a limited hangout. When you have Chris Wray coming on Fox News, the director of the FBI, and the only thing he will talk about is how the origin of the virus comes from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He won't talk about whether or not the U.S. government funded that.
Oh, absolutely.
He won't talk about anything else.
We talk about the funneling of money through NGOs all the time.
And
about how
so what you're
corrupt it
seeing is a limited hangout. What you're seeing is the U.S. government, basically what appears to be the case, is they're retaliating against China because China's going to back Russia against Ukraine. And so then the Biden administration comes out and all of a sudden, you have Chris Wray saying it. The FBI is known for a long time that this was engineered in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, right? The Energy Department, who has huge investments in biology and biotech, comes out and says, yeah, we know it. Okay, why is this suddenly being deployed and why they're not talking about the role of the U.S. government is because they're trying to hurt China right now. Not that they don't deserve hurting, but this is just more propaganda coming from the government.
No, absolutely. And before I let you go, I would be remiss if I did not ask you about the recent James O'Keefe Pfizer video that,
right.
The one where they said, let's just start making the vaccines ahead of time, basically.
Yeah, so that was a fascinating case study in Pfizer's ability to completely control information.
Yeah.
The Daily Mail covered that, one of the largest English language journal publications in the world, They covered that drop from Project Veritas, and it was pulled off their website within 10 minutes.
Yep.
They completely scrubbed the internet. And what's most shocking about what was revealed is not just that Pfizer is doing gain-of-function research, which they're giving another name, directed evolution, but it's clearly
that was magical.
Clearly just bullshit.
About double speak right
there.
That
absolutely Orwellian.
Yeah.
But the other thing was that in the subsequent drop from Project Veritas, the young gentleman revealed that Pfizer acknowledges that women are having menstrual irregularities, that there are reproductive harms happening, and even more stunning, Pfizer's leading hypothesis for why this is occurring is that the jabs are damaging the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal gonadal axis. Okay? Those are fancy words.
Those are some fancy words.
Those are fancy words that mean your endocrine system.
Okay.
Okay? The hypothalamus and the pituitary are part of your brain. Mm-hmm. So Pfizer is saying there with that their leading hypothesis for why women are having problems with menstruation is because these jabs are damaging the endocrine system. That's profound because that's going to happen to women and men and young children and everybody else. Might be even worse in young children.
It's unbelievable. Dr. Robert Malone, you know what? There are people out there making a difference. And you are one of them. And I, you know what? This is the first time we've gotten a chance to meet, and I'm proud to have met you, my friend. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thanks for your time, and thanks for the chance to be here.
Thank you so much.
You're a leader, too.
Thank you so much, sir. Oh, please. Yeah, like I said, you broke the internet, my man. Thank you so much. Guys, look, I mean, what else can be said? The man himself, Dr. Robert Malone, has joined us here on LFA TV. Super excited to have him here. And there it is, guys, Dr. Robert Malone. It was really awesome. I could have talked to him for hours and hours. I was happy he was able to sit down with us for 15 minutes. As you guys will see, I'm going to be putting out the rest of my CPAC interviews throughout the week. On Wednesday, I'm going to be putting out my interview with America's congressman, the congressman some of you may have, but the congressman that we all wish we had, Matt Gaetz, maybe my best friend on the Hill, the leader of the Freedom Caucus, the unofficial Speaker of the House, the man who made history. Not too long ago with his speaker vote. Matt Gaetz will be on the show on Wednesday. My interview with him. But when I tell you, look, a lot of crap comes out about Matt Gaetz, and that just tells you how powerful, how influential he actually is. He's a dear. I'm proud to call him a friend, and I'm proud of the work that he's doing down in Congress. So my interview with Matt Gaetz will be out on Wednesday, 8:15, right here, same time, same place. Make sure you guys tune in for that on Friday. I'll be putting out. Look, if you're from Long Island, you know him, you love him, Mr. Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler will be joining the show, as well as a message from Scott about what we're going to be doing next, moving forward, moving into the next election cycle. A message that Donald Trump agrees with, as you'll see on Friday. But I'll be doing Scott Pressler's interview on Friday, so make sure you guys do stay tuned for that, guys. Once again tonight at Norwood Elementary School, 290 Norwood Avenue, Port Jeff Station, at 8 o'clock is the Port Jefferson Station School Board meeting. I will be there. I will be there early. Something must be done. Something must be done. According to the lawsuit against this teacher, she has now been moved out of that particular classroom, but is now teaching younger students. Right now, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Right now, Deborah Rosenquist is in a classroom with children. This must be stopped immediately. And the only way it will be stopped is if you make your voices known. If you make your voices heard. It's the only way. We've seen that it works in the past. Do not engage with the idiots that will be there. There will be protesters. There will be counter-protesters protesting us. Make sure you guys keep your heads. The first person who yells loses. That's so important. Keep your heads. Woosah. I know this is difficult, and I know people get animated when it comes to kids. particularly their own children, but children in general. Make sure you guys remain calm and know that we are on the right side of this. We are on the right side of this argument. And it's time that we let the world see it. Guys, I will see you at Norwood Elementary School tonight at 8 o'clock. Until then, on your way out the door, make sure you guys hit that Rumble button. Share this video out all over the place so people know what's going on in Port Jefferson, particularly if you have friends in Port Jefferson who may have had children interact with this creep, with this vile human being, with this indoctrinator. I won't call her an educator. This indoctrinator. People need to know this stuff is happening, and you're not going to hear about it on local news. Why? Because News 12's too busy covering the weather. Newsday's too busy covering George Santos. That's all those networks care about. You got to come here to Loud Majority Live to get the real news about your local community and what's going on, because this impacts your life. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, what happens down in D.C. is a very, very small portion of your life, particularly if you have a student in the Port Jefferson School District. Guys, hit the Rumble button on the way out the door. Also, once again, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. Use promo code LFA at checkout for 20% off everything on the website. Also, one more big announcement. Starting next week, we are going to bring back the local show to show you guys a little bit behind the scenes of what goes on here, the movers and shakers, the people that are able to make this show happen. I know I'm the only one on camera right now, but there's a whole team of people out the door right there who help make this show happen, help keep the Loud Majority running nice and smoothly. So if you're on Rumble, there is a link directly underneath loudmajority.locals.com. It's $5 a month. It's just a way to help keep the show running. I do appreciate all the support you guys give us. As we said, this is user-generated content. Without you guys, this show can't continue. And stories like this will disappear into existence. Will disappear from existence. So, guys, on Facebook, hit the like button. Tag your friends in the comments. Make sure everyone gets to see this so that they know that in 11 hours, people are going to start to be held accountable for poisoning the minds of our children. Poisoning our children. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the page. Also, head on over to rumble.com/LFATV to see all of the content. I think we had 30 hours or so worth of content from CPAC. Over 500,000 views on our CPAC content alone. Make sure you guys check all that out. Once again, Wednesday, Matt Gaetz' interview live on the show right here, 8:15. Until then, guys, I'll see you then. Stay loud.